Hey guys, what's up? It's Katie and I'm back with another Marvel Contest of Champions video, and today we are going to be continuing the Act 5 series with 5.4.5, Break the Unbreakable. Now, I'm making this series for a few reasons. The first is I want to refamiliarize myself with Act 5 because it's been so long since I've gone back through it, or since I've completed it rather, and it's been a while and it's kind of hard to remember what's going on. And the second reason is I've got some friends who've just picked up playing the game, and I know there are a lot of new players out there who are looking for some Act 5 content that is relevant to 2019. So I will do my best to go over the nodes, go through the map, walk through the mobs, the boss, that sort of thing, and give information that is relevant to 2019. So the first thing that I want to do is go over this spreadsheet that I have here. Now, there will be a link to the spreadsheet in the description of the video, so feel free to click on it, take a look at it, do what you will. Now, this is an active spreadsheet, so I can make adjustments to it as we go. So if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments of the video and I can update it as we go along. So the spreadsheet, I have all 6 paths laid out now. I have it marked out in 6 paths, and you've got resilience, biohazard, bleed, power, rage, and immunity. So I have all the mobs and then the nodes that they are noted with, as well as a description of the nodes down here. So if you're unsure of a node, when you're planning out your path, feel free to take a look at it. And this also gives you a kind of a good way to plan, what champs you're going to bring in and that sort of thing. Now, there is also a map that you can go ahead, click on it and download it, use it to your advantage so that you can scout out your paths, because this map is locked like the other maps in Act 5.4. Now, like the other chapters in Act 5.4, there is no global node and there are no keys required. However, like I said, the map is locked and all the paths are noted. Now, normally what I do is if, there's a path that I haven't made a video on, I go over it, but just the way that this map is laid out, there's really no way that you can do that. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna start out here, and you can choose one of 6 paths. Those paths, like I said, are resilience, biohazard, bleed, power, rage, or immunity. Now, the rage is kind of misinformative because it's not really a rage path, but all the mobs have some sort of enhanced fury. Also, the power path, it isn't really the traditional power gain node, but instead it is a cornered node with, allowing the opponent to gain up to 100% power when they have a damaging debuff on them, like bleed or poison, something to that regard. So let's go ahead and take a look at this map now. All sections are separated and there is really minimal overlapping. Really, the only overlapping that you see is the beginning here, where you go through Miles Morales every time, and then you kind of branch out, and then you converge here, and you will fight Iron Fist all 6 times as well before heading into the Mephisto Boss. So it's really not that bad. You've got an unnoted Miles to start, and then an unnoted Iron Fist to end with before you fight the Mephisto Boss. And the Mephisto Boss, he's not linked with anything. All he has is the Fire of Hades, which I will go over when we get into the boss fight. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first path, which is resilience. So like I said, you always start off fighting this Miles Morales, and no, he is not noted, so you don't have to worry about that. The only thing you got to really watch out for is his evades. Now, Iceman is a great counter to him. As long as he has Cold Snap on him, he will not evade, so you don't have to really worry too much about that. If you don't have Iceman or you don't have a counter like Venom, you can always just hold your specials and just let all of his charges run out. And that's a good way to counter him. Do 3-hit combos, and then you don't really have to worry too much about the evade. So now we're moving on to Howard the Duck with explosive personality and 40% buff duration. Now, all of the mobs on this path have explosive personality. So once they build up to 5 armors, you're going to take direct damage. So what you want to do is bring in someone who armor breaks or armor shatters. So Medusa is great for this. Corvus, he breaks armor off of his parry, so he's really good for this too. And Vision Arcus is another really good one because whenever you're close to them, you are breaking their armor, and you also put a Cold Snap debuff on them, so you get a little damage over time as well. So now we're moving on to Groot with explosive personality and immunity. So he's going to be kind of a little bit more of a pain. Now, you know, the little buffs that Groot gets, those don't count towards the explosive personality. Kind of similar to when, you know, a champ with Furies has rage. Those natural Furies that they get don't count towards the rage. It's the same concept here. So this Groot can be kind of a pain. Just bait out those special ones. So now we're moving on to Symbiote Spider-Man with explosive personality and stun immunity. So you're not going to be able to parry him, which means the 3-hit combos aren't really going to work so well on him. So bringing Venom for this path is ideal. Venom will shut down those evades. Venom stops evades against all Spider-Verse champs. So you don't have to worry too much about that. Plus he'll put damage over time with the bleeds. And also if you save for your special 2 with Venom, you'll convert all those buffs into Furies and start hitting like a truck. So now we're moving on to Unstoppable Colossus with explosive personality and 40% buff duration. So basically with the 40% buff duration is his Unstoppable is going to last a little bit longer. And if he gains his Fury, it's going to last a little bit longer here too. But Quake is ideal for this. No need to worry about that. You don't ever have to worry about the explosive personality with Quake. So she's always a good option for this. Plus you have the class advantage. So now we're moving on to Black Panther Civil War with explosive personality and 20% outlast. And oh, is this guy a pain in the butt? Vision Arcus would be another good one for this because he'll put the armor break on him, so you'll be able to parry him, and you won't have to worry about the reflective stun if you're not that great about playing around the reflective stun. If you are, then hey, kudos to you. So now we're moving on to Red Mags with explosive personality and 100% debilitate. And really the thing with Magneto having 100% debilitate is if he hits you with the end of his special, he has a chance to put a bleed on you. So that bleed effect would last a little bit longer. Also off of his special 2, he could put a heal block on you and that would last a little bit longer. So as long as you don't get hit with any of his specials, you don't have to worry about the debilitate. And so Iceman's a really good option for this here because you don't really have to worry about baiting out specials. You can just tank that special too. Okay, so now we're moving on to Red Hulk with explosive personality and 40% incinerate. So he's gonna start hitting really hard once his heat charges get built up, even through your block. So be mindful of that. I know you wanna bait out the special ones. They're the easier one to dodge, but it's gonna cause him to gain his heat furies a lot, or his heat charges a lot faster. So be mindful of that. But overall, Red Hulk's not too bad of a fight. So now we're moving on with Dr. Voodoo with explosive personality and Bane of Damballa. And Dr. Voodoo, he's really not a hard champ to fight. Do be careful though, if you do die and come back in, remember whatever health you took off, there's a likelihood he's just going to regen it all back at the beginning of the fight. So bringing in a heal block champ is ideal here. Warlock would be really great for this as well. Quake is also the go-to gal. So now we're moving on to King Groot with explosive personality and 95% Mystic Ward. So you have a 95% chance if you're bringing in a Mystic champ for their nullify effects to fail. So be mindful of that. But here we have Vision Arcus putting in some work, getting the armor breaks on. He's got the cold snap on, so he's doing some damage over time. And with Vision Arcus, you definitely want to launch your special 3 first, and then kind of work your way to your special 2. So now we're moving on to Luke Cage with explosive personality and adaptive. So he's gonna get, a lot of physical resistance. He's gonna get power. So definitely, and he's gonna have his indestructible too. So you're gonna wanna kind of play around his indestructible. Iceman is great for this because you really don't have to pay attention to that. You can just kind of go all balls to the wall, so to speak. And save your special 3 if you're afraid you're gonna push him to his special 3. After he launches his special 3, you launch your special 3 and you'll get your ice armor up just like that. So now we're moving on to Iron Fist, who is again unnoted. So he is the last mob that you will face before the Mephisto Boss. So it's kind of nice. You get a nice easy fight before the Mephisto Boss. So now let's go ahead and take a look at Path 2, which is Biohazard. So we're starting off again with Miles Morales, and again, same thing. If you get the cold snap on with Iceman, you don't have to worry about his evades. You could bring in Venom to stop those evades, or you could just parry and do 3-hit combos until his charges run out and hold your special. So now we're moving on to Colossus with Biohazard, Heavy-Handed, and 80% Mystic Ward. So you're definitely, for this path, for the Biohazard path, you are going to want a bleed immune champ. You don't have to worry so much about a poison immune as long as you don't hit into their block. But you're gonna want someone who's bleed immune. Ghost is great for this path because each time you would get a bleed on you, just phase and you'll get a fury there. And I know I just ate that special. So now we're moving on to Hulkbuster with Biohazard, 20% enhanced special 2, 20% outlast, and 40% enhanced armor up. And so you definitely don't want to push him to his special 2. It can be kind of dicey to dodge. I know I'm not that great at it, but just because it says enhanced special 2 doesn't mean he won't throw those special 1s. So if you can bait out those special 1s, definitely go for it. Ghost is great for this too. You could also bring in her with the Hood synergy in case you're afraid of pushing to an SP3. So now we're moving on to Groot with Biohazard, 40% physical resistance, 95% mystic ward, and 20% outlast. So Omega Red is really great for this path as well. You can life and power steal off your special 3. So you'll always have that little death field around you, which allows you to stack up to, I believe, 30 spores. So the damage will just roll. You can just essentially kind of stand by your opponent and watch them melt. So now we're moving on to Wolvie with Biohazard, 100% bloodletting, 40% enhanced bleeds, and 20% enhanced abilities, excuse me. So don't get clipped by this guy, otherwise it's not gonna end well for you. He's gonna bleed you out. And as for the enhanced abilities, he's just gonna get his regen a lot quicker. So bringing in a heal block champ is ideal. Warlock is great for this. He's got that passive heal block, so you really don't have to worry about Wolvie regenning. So now we're moving on to Cable, and we all know how I feel about Cable. But he's got Biohazard, True Strike, and 50% power gain and stun immunity. So yes, he is a giant pain in the butt. Just because it says that, you know, he's got, or excuse me, wrong Cable. But overall, Cable's not a hard fight. Sometimes I don't dash back far enough when it comes to his heavy, but overall, not too bad. So now we're moving on to Unstoppable Colossus with Biohazard, 80% physical resistance, 40% enhanced fury, and 40% buff duration. So again, his Unstoppable is going to last a little bit longer, and his fury that he gets is going to last a little bit longer. And he's got a good bit of physical resistance, and really you can't put bleed on him, you can't poison him, so he's kind of a pain in the butt in that regard. So you're gonna want to bring in a heavy hitter for that. So Ghost is ideal, especially with, you know, the Wasp and Hood synergy. So now we're back to Iron Fist, the easy fight before the Mephisto boss, and honestly, there's really nothing too special about this fight. Both of Iron Fist's specials are easy to dodge, so no worries there. So now let's go ahead and move on to path 3, which is the Caltrops or Bleed path. So again, we're starting off with Spider-Man Miles Morales, and, you know, same spiel as before, guys. Iceman with the Cold Snap is always good. Venom stops all the Spideys from evading, or you can just do 3-hit combos. So now we're on to Cable with Caltrops, True Strike, and Special 1 Bias. Now, just because it says Special 1 Bias doesn't mean he's always going to throw that. I personally prefer his Special 2 over his Special 1, but that's just me. I feel like it's easier to dodge. But, you know, obviously, just because it said Special 1 Bias doesn't mean anything. Caltrops, you're definitely going to want a bleed immune. So, you know, you could bring in Warlock with either of the Visions or Ultrons and get that extra fury. Ghost is great for Caltrops because every time you hit and you phase, when you would have the bleed on you, she gains a fury. So she's great for this. So she's going to start hitting really hard. So now we're on to Cyclops with Caltrops, Strike Back, and Special 1 Bias. Be careful because of Strike Back where his power bar is when you launch your special. You don't want him at more than 1 bar of power when you launch your special, or else you could potentially push him to his Special 3. So now we're moving on to Kang with Caltrops, 20% enhanced Special 2 and Special 2 Bias. Definitely do not push him to that Special 2. Bait out those Special 1s unless you are Thing and have your protection up. Otherwise, it's kind of dicey to dodge. But Kang is a lot like Hood and Iron Man, in OG Iron Man, excuse me, in that regard. And once they start throwing those special ones, they boom, 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 start chain throwing, and his special one is very easy to dodge. It's just like OG Iron Man's. So now we're moving on to War Machine with Caltrops, second line, and special one bias. Now, Corvus would be ideal for this to get the armor breaks down. And as long as you have your glaive charges up, you really don't have to worry about the Caltrops. But, you know, Sentinel's great here. He can armor break. And plus, with the special 2, he places an Incinerate. So overall, not too bad. So now we're moving on to Agent Venom with Caltrops, 30% enhanced special 1 and 40% enhanced bleed. So don't get clipped by the end of that special 1 and get the bleed on you. Otherwise, like the Wolvie fight, it won't end well for you. Now, Omega Red is great for this because he takes less bleed damage. Plus, again, you can lifesteal and power steal off your special 3, or you can lifesteal off of your special 1. So that is always super beneficial. So now we're moving on to Electro with Caltrops, 30% enhanced special 1 and 40% enhanced crits. Now, Omega Red is great for Electro because he doesn't take any of the damage back with his tentacle hits. So if you have Omega Red, now's the time to bring him in. With Electro Special 1, make sure you're kind of all the way back when you go to dodge it because it's actually farther reaching than you would think. I've gotten clipped by it a few times, maybe once in Labyrinth of Legends. Anyway, so moving on to Hood with Caltrops, 20% enhanced special 2 and special 2 bias. Now, like with Kang, you don't want to push this guy to his special 2 because then he'll go invisible and it's just a pain in the butt to fight. But luckily with Hood, once he starts throwing those special 1s, he boom, 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 chain throws them. So you don't have to worry too much about baiting them out. Now, Thing is great for this because every time you would get a bleed, every 2 seconds, he converts it to a Fury. So then we would go through Iron Fist and then to the Mephisto Boss. So now let's go ahead and take a look at Path 4, which is the Power Gain path. Now, as I said earlier, this really isn't a power gain path per se. The really power gain that they get, the mobs all have 100% cornered on them. So if you're going to put a damaging debuff on, that's when they're going to gain power. So here's our first one with Moon Knight with 100% cornered and 40% enhanced bleed. So if he hits you, he's going to bleed you out pretty good. So be mindful of that. I decided to bring in Dr. Voodoo here to kind of control the power, but I messed up. Through the special 1, so now he's got the Spirit Venom on him, and look how much power he has gained. Now, that can work to your favor because Moon Knight's special 2 is easier to dodge than his special 1. Just be careful and don't push him to his special 3. So now we're moving on to Loki with cornered and 40% buff duration, but he's only going to get buff duration if he steals your buffs, so I don't really understand that, but okay, whatever. I tried to come in here and quake Loki, and quaking Loki is always kind of sketchy because he's always kind of gaining power, so not probably the best option. Bringing in Magic here would be ideal. Any power control champ is always good. Magic is the queen of power control, as we all know. Warlock would be really good as well. So now we're moving on to Scarlet Witch with 100% cornered, 20% and 20% abilities. So she's gonna gain her abilities to put those, to gain those buffs and put, you know, the poison and the heal block on you, the more times that she crits and the more that you crit. So bringing in someone who doesn't crit like Quake and just quaking her down is ideal. And speaking of Quake, she's got 100% cornered and 100% debilitate. So with the debilitate, basically if you get those Quake charges on you and don't launch your special right before it expires and stuns you, the stun is going to last a lot longer. So now we're moving on to Doc Ock with 100% cornered and 20% abilities. So as long as he doesn't hit you, you really don't have to worry about the power lock or the heal block. Now he will get armor up more frequently, but overall Doc Ock's not bad. Bring in a power control champ like Quake. Quake is going to pretty much run this path for you. So now we're moving on to Archangel with 100% cornered and 30% enhanced special 1. I always try to push him to his special 2. It's a lot easier to dodge than his special 1, but overall not too bad. Even though we are putting the debuffs on and he's gaining power, it's really not so bad. Archangel versus Archangel here with the neuros. The Katy Candy Archangel is just gonna run through it. So now we're moving on to Hyperion with 100% cornered and stun immunity. And this guy, he kind of sucks, I'm not gonna lie. So you definitely want to either bring in a power control champ or someone that can tank a special 3 like Iceman, because if you can't control his power, you're gonna eat a special 3. So I brought in Hawkeye here, got the bleed going, and then I got the power drain, but magic is honestly probably your best bet for you right there, especially if you have the mystic power boost. So now we're moving on to Doctor Strange with 100% cornered and special 2 bias. If you can, try to bait those special 1s out. Try not to push him to his special 2. He can do a lot of block. You can still take a lot of block damage through it, especially if he has his Fury up when he launches it. When he has his armor up, don't launch your special until maybe his Fury is up. That way you get more kind of bang for your buck. So now we're moving on to Yellow Jacket with 100% cornered and Power Sting 3.0. So you can see that little debuff in the corner there. Don't launch a special this whole fight unless it is a special 3 and it will deal the killing blow. Do not launch your special, otherwise you be dead. So having someone that can put damage over time debuffs on like Archangel is really going to help you out. So now we're moving on to Dormammu with 100% cornered and 50% power gain. Now with Dormammu, he really can't suffer from a lot of damage over time debuffs. So just trying to Quake him down. Quake is your best bet for power gain because if you never have to touch them, you never have to worry about them gaining power. So if you can Quake and Bake, you are going to do perfectly fine on this path. I'm not great at stun immune quaking and baking, but if you can do stun immune quake and bake, you got this easy peasy lemon squeezy. So now let's go ahead and take a look at path 5, which is the rage path. And again, we're starting out with Miles Morales. Now, kind of like the power gain path, there is no actual rage on the rage path. So fret not, you will not rage for rage. There is, however, a lot of fury. So the first real noted up mob we have on here is Hulk with Fury, 40% enhanced Fury and 20% Outlast. And I always think it's kind of dirty giving Hulk Fury. So I try pushing him to his special 2 over his special 1. I feel like it's a lot easier to dodge than his special 1. Sometimes that special 1, the little like rock flip can sometimes nick me there. So, but overall not too bad. If you can bring in someone that can, you know, put a damage over time debuff on, that's ideal. Now you are going to want a poison immune champ for this abomination who has Fury, 40% enhanced poison and 20% enhanced abilities. So with the enhanced abilities, he's going to get a Fury and he's going to be able to poison you quicker. So keep that in mind when you're going in here. So Iceman is ideal for this. He's poison immune. He can eat a special 3 if you just want to go all balls to the wall. Both of Abomination's specials are easy to dodge, so you don't have to really worry about one over the other, excuse me. So now we're moving on to the Punisher with Fury, 80% physical resistance and 20% enhanced special 2. So you are definitely going to want to bring in someone who puts some sort of damage over time on here, because Punisher can already kind of take a hit, and then you add 80% physical resistance onto it, and he is really gonna take a hit. Also, be mindful of that Endure at the end of the fight. So now we're moving on to Phoenix with Fury, 10% enhanced Fury and 100% recovery. So unless you have someone that can heal block her at the very end of the fight, she will regen all that health all the way back up. So definitely you're going to want someone to heal block that unless you want to do the whole fight all over again. Magic is great here for, you know, kind of power control, and once Phoenix gets those Furies stacked up, just launch your special 3. So now we're moving on to Venom with Fury and I always have problems saying this, Adamansis, and perfect replication. So basically Venom can copy up to, I believe it is 20 buffs. So bringing in someone like Sim Supreme here is ideal. Morningstar would be epic with this because he would have all those buffs up, launch one special 2 from Morningstar and dead. So, but Sim Supreme is great for that as well. So now we're moving on to Drax with Fury, 40% enhanced Fury and 40% enhanced Bleed. So with the enhanced Fury, Drax is actually going to start hitting like a truck, even through your block. So be mindful of that. Both of his specials they're both easy to dodge and they're both easy to punish. So definitely take advantage of that if you can. Magic is great for this. Once they have all the Furies, just launch your special 2, or excuse me, your special 3 and watch the damage roll. So now we're moving on to OG Captain Marvel with Fury, 40% enhanced Fury and 100% power gain. So this is where magic would be really great. Just chain throw those special 2s and keep them power drained and power locked. But overall, Captain Marvel, she's not a hard fight. You just kind of got to watch the power gain here. So like I said, bringing in someone that can power drain or power lock, either of the visions is good also, but bringing in class advantage is really what you want to kind of mitigate the damage that you could take from the Fury. So now we're back to Iron Fist right before the Mephisto Boss, but Iron Fist overall easy fight, kind of a nice cooldown before the big show. So now we're moving on to the final path, which is the immunity path. And this path is probably the hardest path of the whole map because they're immune to pretty much everything. So again, we're starting out here with Miles. So an anti-evasion or, Iceman's always good. So now we're moving on to OG Spidey with immunity, special 1, bias, and critical. So you can't parry him, so you can't do the 3-hit combo. So you Venom would be great here since he can already stop the Spideys from evading. So kind of keep that in mind. He stops all passive evades from all Spider-Verse heroes. So that makes him super beneficial here. So now we're moving on to Thor Rags with immunity, parry, Ragnarok, and 50% power gain. So be careful when you try to intercept him that he doesn't auto block because he can parry you and he can stun you. Now the power gain actually works out in your favor for this fight because both of his specials are easy to punish, they're easy to dodge, and let's face it, Thor Rags, he loves to throw him. So just be mindful once you get up to the 20 hits to hit him with a special to stop his, kind of automatic power gain so you don't push him to a special 3. Now, Ultron's kind of a pain here, right? So he's got immunity, 100% recovery, 40% enhanced bleed, and 20% enhanced special 2. So you're definitely want to bait out those special 1s over the special 2. They're easier to dodge, number 1. But the recovery is kind of going to be a pain in the butt. You could bring in Warlock, or I believe it is Mysterio. I know Warlock for sure has a passive heal block that would work on that Ultron to stop his regen. Otherwise, there's really no other way to stop it. So now we're moving on to probably the most pain in the butt fight, which is this Hyperion with immunity, 40% buff duration, heavy hitter, and fury. So his power gain is going to last longer. So he's going to be gaining power like crazy. So you're either going to want to bring in Ghost with the Hood synergy to phase the special 3 because you're going to eat one, or bring in Iceman to eat the special 3 as well. Or Thing with the protection would also be beneficial here because you're probably going to eat one. You can't power lock him and you can't power drain him. So, and I thought I edited all that out. Guess not. Oh well. So moving on to Ant-Man with immunity, physical resistance, energy resistance, and adaptive. So this fight here is where you want to make sure you don't have anything you got going on. You don't got to move in war. You don't have to move in AQ. You don't have to do any of that stuff because this is a long ass fight. This fight is the test of endurance. So not only does he have physical and energy resistance, but you have to deal with the pain in the butt glancing. Now, there is a Nightcrawler fight here. He is, where's he at on the map here? There he is, right here. Here's the He Here is the Nightcrawler. I don't know exactly what happened to that video. I'm not sure if it somehow I accidentally deleted it off my phone or what, but the Nightcrawler has immunity, special 1 bias, 40% enhanced bleed, and 20% enhanced abilities. So he is going to be evading like crazy. He's going to be hitting like a truck. And since he's immune, again, it's going to be kind of a pain in the butt fight. Now, you could bring in Venom, and, you know, with Venom with the last 18%, he gains True Strike, so he'll stop the evade, but it's still going to be a pain in the butt fight. This one you may need a revive or 2 on, so just be careful. Try to bait out those heavies and punish those heavies. His specials are easy to punish, but just be mindful of that evade. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the boss, which is Mephisto. Now, Mephisto has what is known as the Fire of Hades. And so basically at the start of the fight and every 30 seconds, Mephisto is going to activate his aura of incineration for 10 seconds. So you can see it's got a 30-second cooldown, and then it's activated for 10 seconds. But with the aura of incineration, that means that Mephisto is going to be gaining power like crazy. So you could push him to launch his special 2, which would give him another aura of incineration, or try to bait out the special before it gets to the special 1 before he gets to his special 2, or eat a special 3. Now, you're gonna want someone that is incinerate immune. Otherwise, you're gonna be taking a ton of damage from that aura. So you're gonna want someone like Iceman. He is a great counter for this. When I went into this, I came in with a 440 Iceman, a 4-star 440. So, and that's who I used every time against this guy. But then we didn't have Void, and Void would be excellent for this because not only is Void incinerate immune, but also once you get the Fear of the Void on, you can start, you know, getting some power control with him there. You could also bring in Human Torch. He would be another fantastic counter to this guy. And I think Colossus now with the buff, correct me if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below, but I believe Colossus is also incinerate immune now with the buff. So, but the thing with Iceman is you can just kind of go all balls to the wall here, right? So if you push him to a special 3, just make sure you have your ice armor up. So at the start, you don't want it while he has his little soul that will prevent you from gaining your ice armor. Just don't go all balls to the wall till you get your ice armor. And once you get your ice armor, just go ahead and, you know, just go at him. If you eat a special 3, so be it, but that will drain your power. But there's no need to really throw your special 1s anyway, since Mephisto is Cold Snap immune, so you're not going to put that damage over time debuff on him. Now, it is going to be a long fight with Iceman because his damage really isn't up there, but Void and Human Torch would be awesome for this. Especially Void, if you can get the Fear of the Void, get the power drain going on, you know, and everything like that. Plus you'll put the debuffs on and you can just kind of watch him melt. Then you really also with Void don't have to worry too much about his regeneration. So that's another thing that makes Void potentially so great for this fight. Human Torch as well, since he is Incinerate immune, you could activate that Nova Flame and just go to town. But like I said, when I did this with a 440 Iceman every time, all 6 times. So, but anyways, guys, yeah, that is it for 5.4.5 Break the Unbreakable. Let me know in the comments below if you ran through 5.4.5. Who did you use? Were you like me and used Iceman, or did you use Void? Who did you use? Or have you run through this with Human Torch? If so, how did it work out for you? Or have you tried the new Colossus? Let me know in the comments below and let's discuss. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you guys liked what you saw and you want to see more, please remember to like and subscribe, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and hit me up in the Discord chat. Thanks, guys. Bye.